Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets and their season. They traded back for their draft pick. Did it really work out? Not really. But let's talk about the season anyway. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, aka the Chica Freza. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Subscribe, bang, double, two of them. We're going to talk Brooklyn Nets in the next two shows. The draft lottery was yesterday. I did my first mock draft over there. 14 picks just for the lottery. We'll go into more draft stuff as we move forward. And yeah, still entertaining conspiracy theories about the draft, which obviously are not true, but that's okay. Other big news in the NBA, Jason Tatum torn Achilles. That is 3 torn Achilles now in the last, 3 months? DeJounte Murray, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum. So you're going to have no Lillard or Tatum all of next season and probably no Murray. That's just terrible news. And it's not, obviously it doesn't impact fantasy from this last season for Tatum, but it's again, one of the reasons, hey, I'm going to draft Jason Tatum because he never misses games. Cool. Right? It happens. Injuries happen. It's dreadful. He's going to miss a year of his prime, another year of his prime, getting back to where he was, and he will never be the same. He'll be good. He'll never be the same. And now, much like with the Bucks and Giannis likely leaving, the whole offseason is turned on its head because what do the Celtics do? They've got to pay $1 million. I say $1 million, and that's way under, like almost $1 billion in tax. Also not that much, but a lot of tax for a team that's not going to win anything. The offseason is going to be incredibly interesting. It is International Chihuahua Appreciation Day. Obviously, my dog Obi is part Chihuahua. Only the good parts, though. And we're appreciating all our little Chihuahua friends who do get a bad rap. Yeah, they're annoying. Yeah, they're irritating. Yeah, they think they're tougher than they are, but they're also cool. They're cool. Shout out to Obi. All right, we are talking about the Brooklyn Nets. Let's dig into some of the information around them for this upcoming, or not this upcoming season, for the season that just went by. Let's take a look at how things went. They had a 26-56 record. Like I said, they traded with the Houston Rockets and the New York Knicks in the offseason, traded away Mikal Bridges to get $1 million draft picks back, made the move with the Rockets, sending the Phoenix Suns pick to Houston to get their own draft picks back, which we thought was a clear sign that they were going to tank and try to get a top 3 pick. The problem is their coach was too good. I'm not sure their players were too good. Their coach was too good. Jordi Fernandez, new coach. In the end, they traded the 10th pick in the draft, which was the Suns pick, for their own pick back, which ended up as the 8th pick in the draft. Yes, they got another pick back in the future, but that is almost as bad of a result as they could have anticipated for this season. They thought, I would have guessed the front office that we're actually not a good team here. We'll be a top 3 team with the luck to get pick number 1. The Suns will be much better than that, and it's a great deal for us. But it wasn't. It was actually a terrible deal in terms of that value that you thought you were getting, you did not get. So, they end up with, they got a bunch of picks. Pick 8, pick 19, pick 26, and pick 27. And also pick 36 in the second round. This is the first time ever since moving to Brooklyn that the Nets have had a lottery pick. So we'll see what Sean Marks is able to do. Yesterday in my mock draft, I went with Kasparas, which I think I didn't get his name exactly right. Someone who's Lithuanian said that I got an 8 out of 10. I want to do better. Kasparas Yakuchionis from Illinois. I think that they probably do need a point guard on this team. They don't have young stars. They don't have young, high upside prospects. They might not get one at pick 8. But that's what I think they do. We haven't pushed back past pick 14 to see what happens at 19 and 26. But what I do think in terms of point guards, they might go a different direction at 8 because there's going to be this weird grouping of point guards that are all going to be available in that 19, 26, 27 range of the draft, I think. And maybe they grab one there and see how that works out and try something different. Maybe they get like a scoring forward, probably not a big man, but we'll see what they do. Anyway, a lot of draft picks, 5 of them, including 4 first-round picks for the Brooklyn Nets. In terms of free agency, well, this is part of the reason why their point guard situation is important because D'Angelo Russell's an unrestricted free agent. Is he good? Not really. De'Anthony Melton came across in the trade that where they got off of Dennis Schroeder. Melton was injured. He never played a single second for the Nets. He had a torn ACL for the Warriors, and now he's unrestricted. I'm not sure. Well, he was obviously part of just salary matching in that deal. So when we talk about what Melton is able to do, I'm not really certain that he would be on this team. It doesn't make much sense that he would be. The other one is Trendon Watford, who had opportunities this season to put up some numbers, but didn't really succeed in the way that he had a couple of years ago back in Portland. Maybe they bring Russell back. Maybe he loves being in Brooklyn so much. But I would say towards the end of the year, that didn't really show. They were limiting his minutes. He had some injuries, and he didn't play very well at all. They got a bunch of restricted free agents. Zaire Williams, Cam Thomas, and Day'Ron Sharpe. There's also Reese Beekman, the Vulture, who's a two-way restricted free agent, who showed a little bit. Maybe best case he can turn into a guy like a Colin Gillespie, who was a two-way guard, who turned into a rotation, backup, point guard sort of guy. Maybe that's him. But the Williams, Thomas, and Sharpe ones are interesting. Thomas and Sharpe both could be starters. Thomas already is, obviously. Sharpe could easily be a starting center somewhere. Williams had plenty of runway, Zaire Williams, to do something this season. I wouldn't say that he gave you a great amount of hope to suggest that he was going to be good, but he was definitely improved versus what he had done in Memphis. They've also got 4 guys with team options. Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson, Tyrese Martin, and then Drew Timme, who signed at the end of the season. The guy that really, I thought, improved or impressed out of that group was Keon Johnson, but even then, what are we doing with these sort of players? These are nothing sort of guys, and maybe they're back, maybe they're not, but I don't really think there's anything. And this is, again, you look at this team and these players and you go, how did they win 26 games? Because, again, Jordi Fernandez is goated. They've got one non-guaranteed guy that they've got to make a decision on. It's Maxwell Lewis, who broke his leg early in after coming across from the Lakers in a trade. He did come back. He had like 1 or 2 really good games at the end of the season. I'm not sure about him as an NBA player. There's $100,000 guaranteed on his deal. He, again, I think they will probably bring him back, but I'm not going to suggest that he's done a huge amount of good things so far in the NBA, and he doesn't really profile as an elite level producer or anything along those lines. So it is a little bit of a weird roster who they, for all intents and purposes, are going to look terrible again next season. But they're going to have pick 8, but most importantly, they're going to have Jordi Fernandez. And what they then do with Thomas, or do they Johnson and Claxton, there's some solid players, but no one great. And that could leave them in that purgatory zone of being in this 6 to 10 area, 8 to 12, whatever you want to say. And that's not ideal. So I wouldn't be shocked if they look at it and go, right, we should have been worse. We weren't. We're going to go harder at stripping this thing back. Jordi, show us what you can do. But we're going to strip it back. Maybe. Not sure. Or they decide to go all in and try and get themselves a Giannis Antetokounmpo, which I'm not sure is the best mode of action for them, but that doesn't stop teams from doing things that aren't in their best interests. Happens all the time. We're going to talk about the guys that are 25 or older on today's show, and for this team, they're actually one of the youngest teams in the NBA. There's not many of those guys, but there are some important ones. We're going to come back and talk about them in a sec. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Wayfair. The weather is starting to warm up for you guys. For me, the opposite. It's starting to get colder, but for you guys, the weather is warming up. You are spending more time outside, and that means it's the perfect time to refresh or refresh. Do you say refresh or refresh? I think I alternate, but that's okay. Refresh your outdoor space. You might be working with a big backyard. You might have a small little balcony. Whatever it is, Wayfair has everything that you need to make it feel more like you. Wayfair's massive selection of outdoor essentials makes it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup. You can set a conversation set. Is that a real thing? Sleek dining tables, outdoor furniture, or you would say silverware instead of cutlery. I'd say cutlery, plates, glasses, whatever it is. Wayfair's got all that stuff at prices that fit your budget. The mix of styles they offer is great as well. It makes it super easy to find pieces that fit with your existing decor or whatever style you want to go with at the time. So shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture online. This summer, get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That is Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. And there's one thing they say about me is that I am outside. I'm very much outside, so maybe Wayfair's for me. Let's talk about the Nets. Let's talk about these players. Like I said, there's not many guys that we're going to cover because they are a very young team. Well, we're going to cover everybody in the 2 separate shows. So let's get in and talk about the first one of these guys who is older than 25 on this squad, and it's a guy that was in a position to have an increased opportunity this season with Mikal Bridges gone. But in the past, he's let us down, but I thought that it was a really impressive season from Cam Johnson. But then, of course, injuries ruin things, as it does so often for Johnson. He is extension eligible in his contract. He's already 29, though, and that's where we start to get into some problems, because what sense does he make on this team? Could he fit on any good team? Yeah. Any contender? Absolutely. This is an elite shooter. He shot 39% from 3, again, despite usage going up to 23. He played 32 minutes a night, which I think is going to be close to a career high for him. Outside of shooting, though, what else does he do? What else does he do? Can he defend? Sort of. Can he pass? No. Like 3.4 assists is actually good for him. 0.9 steals, like 4 rebounds, but 19 points, 2.8 threes. He shot 48, 89, 39. Excellent efficiency. The usage is strong. He played 57 games. He ended up as a 63rd ranked player this season, Cam Johnson, for category leagues and 87th in points leagues. What I would be a little cautious of, again, on this team, he still was only 79th percentile in offensive load. And yeah, Thomas is a part of that, Russ a little bit. But this was the time to really spread, to get to 24, 25 usage and see what happened. And it didn't happen, obviously. And what that means for us when we move forward is that if Johnson is on a team that gets better, if Johnson does stay on Brooklyn but they improve, that usage is coming down from here. He's going to settle in that 18, 19, 20 zone, I'm guessing, which means the scoring and then the impact of his good percentages also decreases. That's not a great sign. Darko's Delta didn't like him. They thought there was some aggression there, which I'm not sure about that, but he's 29. So we're in the downturn part of someone's career. He doesn't do anything defensively. He's not a passing guy. He's not an on-ball guy. He's a great complementary piece who was the best fantasy player on this team, basically. But I fear this is it from him. Not it in terms of he's never good, but this is the best we ever get. And it's 19 with 3 threes and 4 rebounds. It's all going to depend where Johnson is, what team he is on, and what position that team is in as to how we value him. Because realistically, if that usage scales down, then you're talking, let's say he's a 30-minute guy, 16 points, 2.5 threes. Like, what's that? It's not that good. It's fine, but it's not that good. And I think that's part of the problem with Johnson. I won't say he's maxed out all his skills because he improved his assists this season. But he's pretty close to it. We're not going to see him become a 29 usage player, getting 7 assists and 7 rebounds. We're not going to see him be a 1.6 steals guy. We're not going to see him, I don't think, being healthy because he's had many, many problems with his hips/back/leg regions. And that was part of the reason why it was such a stunning pick, honestly, from the Suns. He was old and had many injury concerns at pick 11. So he's fine. He was pushed into a role that was interesting. But like as you move forward with him and we move forward into other seasons, like the next season, I would be very, very surprised if Johnson's delivering anywhere near this same value. And when we look at it now, like, again, it's way too early for this stuff. But what's the point of him being a top 100 player? I don't really see. I don't see why we would invest ourselves into that. Speaking of a guy that's been top 100, but now he's not, and was one of the most disappointing players in the entirety of the NBA, you know who it is. It's Nic Claxton. What happened to this guy? Now, there were periods in the future where flawed rankings would have put him as the 30th best player or 39th best player through extremely high field goals, no turnovers, and big blocks. He was 119th this season. He's 16 usage. He played 27 minutes a game. Like, those numbers are not strong. At all. At all. So what went on here? Why was he like this? He's 26 and he had an opportunity here, but basically from the first game of the season, he just didn't seem happy. And I know that I don't like to get inside other men's heads, giggity, and think, oh, how's he feeling? What's he But that's not really what this is about, because we saw it. Bro just kept getting ejected. Frustrated at so many things. And is it frustrated at an individual scenario on the court, or frustrated at other things that are out of his control? Now, he did choose to sign that, was it $100 million contract, which I thought was actually surprising that the Nets would even offer that. But this guy got ejected that many times. His block numbers are well down. What did he average? 1.4 blocks? Like, you could have said easily that Claxton's a 2.5 block player. He's down to 56 from the field when he was in the past 60 plus. He wasn't efficient. His usage was still low at 16. He played 27 minutes only, 119th ranked player, and somehow he was better in points leagues and category leagues, which you'd never think about with Claxton. He averaged 10 and 7, 1.4 blocks. Like, this is what, and I know that he is a favorite of mine from comparison. You know who it is. Say it out loud if you want. Like, that's like what this season's version of Clint Capella was, who was a reserve and got benched. It's not good. Those numbers aren't good at all. Now, to be fair to Claxton, after the trade deadline, he did improve. He was 102nd, he was 132nd before that. And it's not just about those numbers. He did look better. His minutes went up a little bit more. He just performed better. But it wasn't good. And the problem with Claxton, there's a number of problems. But look at those, like Darko and drip deltas. 3rd percentile in drip in terms of he was one of the most regression, or the highest regression players in the NBA. Like, he was bad. He lost so much value. He still contested shots at a high rate, 92nd percentile, but he should be higher than that. What else are you doing? You're not doing usage. You're not doing passing. You're not shooting. In the past, there were times where you go, hey, look at Claxton. Give him the ball. He can actually dribble it. He can run some offense. Doesn't do any of that anymore. He just sort of exists. He's 26, so we're sort of in that prime area of his career. There are players like Day'Ron Sharpe behind him. They could draft someone like Derek Queen at pick number 8 if they wanted to. They could pick Omei Kaman Malwak at that spot as well. And then where does Claxton sit? He is low-key on one of the worst contracts in the NBA, I think, for who he is. And I don't think that they could trade him for positive value. I expect that he's on this team. But 27 minutes a night again next season, maybe. Where I would never be going back into the top 70 here for him. Not this current iteration of him and the Nets. He seemed checked out. And maybe there's other stuff related to that, but he seemed checked out. As you get older, you don't block as many shots. We see that here. The efficiency disappeared, and he added nothing to his game. That's a terrible combination for a player. And we see guys like this perform. We talk a lot about centers because centers are a key thing in fantasy. And we talk a lot about centers and how centers can come out and put up interesting fantasy numbers and you go, oh, that's great. But we often have to look at them and go, is this and I always like to use this sort of a metric in my head, and I've said it out loud a few times, but is he a 10-year starter? Is the way I look at centers. Is he a guy where they go, bang, we are set, we've got a 10-year starter? Because anyone, Sean Holmes, Nic Claxton, can come in, start for 3 or 4 years, put up top 60, 70 numbers, whatever it is, 3 years, 2 years, whatever it is, put up numbers by getting 12 and 10 with 1.8 blocks on 64% shooting, and then you're a top 50 fantasy guy and goes, oh, he's so good for fantasy. But they're bad in real life, or they're not good in real life, and they don't have longevity, and it's based on this elite athleticism that can wane when skill needs to take over and it doesn't happen. And I think, I'm a little worried about that with Claxton as to where he is moving forward because, again, what improved? Nothing. Everything got worse. He's a worse defender. He's a worse shooter. He's a worse finisher. Seemed like he was worse at keeping himself in control. Well, that was not seemed that he was. And while I don't think that there's going to be like this big position battle where Day'Ron Sharpe's going to take over from him, I'm not sure that Claxton's playing 31, 32 minutes a night. His best games in his career have been when he was playing with the stars. Durant, Kyrie, Harden. And they're not here. They don't exist. He's one to watch because situations can change him a lot. But I think that it's you would have to consider it a very disappointing season, to be honest. We've got a few more guys we're going to talk about. Today's episode, though, is also brought to you by Car Gurus. When you're shopping for a car, it should be exciting. It should be fun. We like cars. They're utilitarian at times, but also they can be fun, exciting. Colors, features, gadgets, whatever it is. But there's confusing prices. There's hidden fees. It can feel overwhelming. That's why Car Gurus is the place that you need to go. It cuts through all the noise and it shows you the best deals with full confidence. With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more new and used car than any other major online marketplace in the US. They verify the dealers. They provide real price analysis and give you the tools and data that you need to make the right choice without second guessing yourself. If you need a deal that you can trust, Car Gurus makes it easy to compare vehicles side by side with unbiased deal ratings. Plus, they've got the price drop alert. So when you find the car that you want, find that perfect car, It will tell you when it is available in your budget. It is no wonder that SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That is cargurus.com. cargurus.com. Now, while we're talking about the Brooklyn Nets, we might as well just get disappointing just in the totality, because it's time for D'Angelo Russell, who started the season as a starter for the Lakers, and he's a guy that I never believed has been a good player, so to speak. A guy that I was like, and I've gotten him wrong plenty of times in fantasy because I've looked at it and go, well, the Lakers benched him. They don't like him, so I'm not going to get in on this. And they come out and they played him 40 minutes a game and didn't trade him the trade deadline before. And I go, what are they doing? Get rid of this guy. Why are you holding on and burning your asset? And they made a big mistake, I think, with that. And this season I thought, okay, well, they lent back into him. Maybe they're going to keep going with him and they're going to keep using him. So I was like, okay, I don't mind the pick for him at around that 80 or 90 mark, whatever it was. And of course, they benched him, and then Austin Reeves took over as the point guard, and then he got traded over here to Brooklyn. He had a couple of goes at having some good usage and then got hurt and then just played limited minutes all the way down the stretch. And honestly, terrible. He was terrible. And I'm not really sure where we go because he's 29. He's the same age as Cam Johnson. He's had multiple opportunities. He's had some fantasy-relevant seasons. But what it requires, and again, this is what you always need to be thinking about. What it requires is a team to go, yeah, D'Angelo Russell's our guy. And look, that's not happening. Who's doing that? Who's saying D'Angelo Russell's our guy? Russell was 190th after the trade deadline. Now, he was traded well before that. But post-trade deadline, the Nets did tank more. His minutes were all over the place. He started some games. He'd sit out back-to-back games with this ankle injury. He ended up, for the season, 26 fantasy points, which was 129th, 147th for category leagues. He only played 26 minutes a night. He averaged 13, 3, and 5, 39 from the field, 31 from 3. Now, encouragingly, one of the things that dragged him down in the past, couldn't hit free throws, but he was up to 83% this season. But there's clear decline in his game. The advanced metrics show that. His passing volume is pretty high. He played on ball a lot. Defensively, nothing super exciting there. But what you need for D'Angelo Russell to be a viable, draftable player is for a team to lock him in as a 30-minute-a-night starter. Now, I guess if this team is going to be more competitive, especially earlier on next season, and he is brought back, and he is the starter next to Cam Thomas, because who else is it? Then he could play 32 minutes a night and easily beat that number. And if we get to a stage where their roster construction looks like that, then yeah, you take him at 120, you take him at 110, whatever it is. Because 32 minutes of D-Lo gives you 15, 6, 4 rebounds, 1.1 steals maybe. Yeah, probably some bad shooting, but I also don't think that it's going to be 39%. But the risk that you're going to have there is that at any point, it can just go tits up. He could be benched. A rookie, if they pick a rookie at pick 8, could take over. He could get dumped, traded, fake injured. It's to me, there is a spot or there's a scenario for D'Lo next season where the first 60% of the season, he well exceeds what I believe will be his ADP. He could have a top 70 run, depending on the scenario. But I would be almost completely staggered if he was relevant at all post-trade deadline next season, either through being on a bad team and being benched or injured, or just starting the season on another team where he's not used like this. So, I guess the other part you could look at as marginally encouraging is that he only had 24 usage, so there is room for that to improve. The other way you could look at it is go, well, only 24 usage on this sort of a team. Why didn't you do more? He also seemed relatively disengaged, and this is, again, how did this team win 26 games? Nic Claxton was doing what he was doing. D'Lo was like, what? What is this? Cam Thomas was injured all season. Maybe that's how they won games, actually. But, how? D'Lo, I don't think you might get a season of him being a starter one more season in his career. But it's not going to be a good one. And it's not going to be we're locked in with D'Lo as that guy. Let's talk De'Anthony Melton, who is a player that I love as a real-life player, who is a player that the fantasy community, category leagues, does love, but at times overloves. Gets way too far over their skis. And that happens a lot with guys that I like Melton, who I've liked from the time he was in Phoenix and Houston and when he was drafted, all that sort of stuff. Great fantasy game in Memphis where he was getting benched for guys that he shouldn't have been benched for. But there are people who are like, oh yeah, but look at the 9-cat numbers. He's the 60th best player. Like, he's not. Because he doesn't have ramp ability. He doesn't take on big usage necessarily. He has some injury concerns in the past, but now obviously the big one is the torn ACL. He finished 231st this season in his 6 games. He played 20 minutes a night. He was actually just ready to be in line, though, to take on a big role before he got hurt. Because I think he just moved into the starting lineup. It's hard to judge a lot of this stuff. He had 10, 3, and 3 with 1.2 steals. In the past, he's been a very high steals guy and a pretty good blocks guy as a point guard. And he had improved his shooting. Now, those numbers are obviously pretty bad from a shooting perspective, but it's 6 games. Hard to even read anything into his advanced numbers or anything like that for this season. But De'Anthony Melton is 27, so he's not old. He's not young. He's not old. He's in the prime of his career. He will come back, whether it's on this team or should be a good team that looks to get him. He'll play 21 minutes a night. He will flash standard Yahoo 9-cat ranking value. He will be like a 10, 3, and 3 with 1.2 steals in 20 minutes. That's actually really good in 20 minutes. But I guess the question we ask is what path do we see for De'Anthony Melton to be more than a 20-minute-a-night player next season? Or realistically, at any point in his career consistently after that? I think that the max he will get to from here on out is probably a 23 or 24-minute role. Probably not next season. But it's all, as always, going to depend. I don't think you would ever want to say De'Anthony Melton is our team's starting point guard. Would you say that De'Anthony Melton is a ball handler who, if everything had have gone right, could have turned into a Derek White type player? Sure. Can handle the ball a bit, worked on his shooting, defends at an extremely high level, can play the 1 or the 2. It's exactly what he does. But I just don't think that's happening now. As much as I like him, as much as I've loved De'Anthony Melton through the years, I just don't think that that's going to happen. He's a lower usage player, and even the 24 usage this season is surprising. He's not a big passing guy. He's a great defensive player, but now we have to see the impact of the ACL. I think he'll be fine. ACLs usually the players recover, but it's 12 months to get on the court, 18 months to get back to your best, or back to what your best will be from here on out. And Melton's, again, positioning is going to be important to see like what team he ends up on. Because, as has been the case all through his career, Phoenix, Memphis, Philadelphia, Golden State, as he gets there, he's on the teams, and there's 3 other players playing the same position, and he can have a 25-minute run and then 20 minutes, and then there's foul problems or whatever. And he is a continual frustration. If he was a 32-minute-a-night player every night, be a top 40 fantasy guy without really any question. But he hasn't taken that Derek White leap, because that's who White was. White, to me, was always a better player, better prospect. But he's never taken that leap to make that improvement in his passing, in his shooting volume, in his consistency to demand those minutes. No team has ever believed in him fully enough. And I sit here, and anyone else sitting here talking about him sits here from a distance. And we can have views of a player, and I do, obviously. But if it's one team and one coach, if David Fizdale's out here going, yeah, bro, I'm not going to play, I go, Fizz, my guy. Probably not right. But if 4 teams, 6 coaches do very similar things, then that permanent production, those flashes we have, there's something else going on. Add the injury into this, and I'm a little worried about where the wave pool goes. There's only one more guy I want to talk about in this show, and that's a guy that was a 2-way player earlier in the season, and that's Tyrese Martin. Martin was converted to a full-time contract at the end of, or in the middle of the season. He ended up as the 327th ranked player. He played 60 games. He played 22 minutes a night, more than De'Anthony Melton. 18 usage. He's 26 already. But did he do enough to make you think, all right, there's a couple of extra steps here. He can be a regular rotation guy? The answer should be an emphatic no. It should be no. It's not. His improvement across Darko and Delta is great. Remember, when I say that DPM Delta and the Drip Delta, that doesn't mean that they're the 79th percentile best player or 80th percentile best player, which are the numbers for DPM and Drip respectively. That means in terms of how much they improved, because he turned from a nothing into a guy that maybe he's a 12th man best case. Didn't pass very much. He's sort of an off-ball 2 who shot 35% from 3. Didn't defend particularly well. There's nothing in those numbers where I go, that's a really intriguing thing. A low usage, mid-shooting, no defense, no assisting guard who played on a bad team and still didn't produce gems. Like, it's fine. He might be a rotation guy on this team that's probably going to be pretty bad again next season. But for as hard as he worked, as impressive as it was to get off that 2A and have some real moments, this is not any sort of a long-term prospect guy. And that, on International Chihuahua Day, are the Nets' old players of 25 and over. That means that in the next show, we're going to be talking about Cam Thomas. We're going to talk about Noah Clowney, Day'Ron Sharpe, Zaire Williams, and then a bunch of nothing as well. Guys, hit the thumb on the video. You know how to do that. I'd love it. I love you. Do that. Enjoy the playoffs, but enjoy my next video that's coming out as well. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.